Hello and welcome to the second late night. No, new rule for this show. You do not J-Lings it at the start of the show ever. Hello and welcome to the second late night lock-in. It's Friday night, so why not be a part of the late night lock-in crew? If you're watching anywhere else but on YouTube, come and get in the live chat. youtube.com/all4united. Come and get involved with the show. Joe, how's your week been? It's been all good?
Yeah, it's been a great week. And you know what? I am giving up to be here with your wonderful self, Ben. Today, the last Friday of every November, in Ireland, we have this yearly tradition. It's called the Late Late Toy Show. And it's just in Ireland, I think. And it's where it's a toy show. It's based for kids, but it's been around for about 45, maybe 50 years. Okay. And it's because the Late Late Show is like the main talk show in Ireland. And then every last Friday in November, they do it as a toy show, and it just gets kind of bigger and broader. And like celebs come in, and the guest has to like deal with like kids. Like what happens is little kids are given like toys to play with for like a couple of weeks leading up to it, and then they come on and talk about it. And the kind of like toys get older and older, and the kids get older and older. And it's just about the host Ryan Tubridy being so awkward around them, trying to relate to kids, and it's all live. It's all live television
to try and get like mums and dads to buy the toys as Christmas presents. So it's just like a massive like QVC, but for kids.
Yes, entirely that. It is absolute, but we lap it up. And the thing is, kids don't even care about it now. It's all like people in their 20s and 30s, which is unfortunately both me, who are just
you know what though? It's cool that you've got that, because we've got Philip Schofield here in England trying to flog anything. Like literally, the other week he had something that made it easier to fry eggs, and then the week before that he had something that could open a bottle. It's at least you've got a tradition.
You mean a bottle opener?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're new, right? That's a new invention. That's not been around before. Anyway, this is of course a Man United show, and we're not trying to plug all you Irish viewers away to go and watch this stupid toy show. Sorry for the Irish viewers who love it, by the way. Of course, this show is all about United, and tonight we have got a fantastic show planned for you. We've got the quiz coming up towards the end, the Ultimate Fan Quiz, which you guys can get involved with in the live chat, which is brilliant. It's fantastic. Last week, John Silk won it, and Semps wasn't too happy. We're going to be talking about fixture congestion. We've got the My First United game, where we're going to find out a little bit about our Reds' first experiences around Manchester United, which is going to be a very interesting one. And we're also going to talk a little bit about fans coming back into stadiums as well. But first of all, it would be wrong of us, the channel that we are, the fans that we are, to look past the occasion that was this week. Of course, we were very, very sad to hear about the passing of Diego Maradona, an icon in football. But on the same day, of course, it was the 15th anniversary of the passing of George Best. And of course, when we went out of our show, we done a tribute to Best and we done a tribute to Maradona, but we also wanted to talk about it on the show today, because we're going to get into one of our guests who is in a much better position than me to talk about George Best as a player, as a man, and what a difference he has made to our football club. But I first of all just want to go over to some tweets, because I put out on our Twitter at All for United. Did anyone see Best play? Do you have any memories that you want to share with us? And Joe, we have been inundated with tweets, like absolutely inundated with tweets. So I want to get through a couple, and then we're going to introduce our first guest, who's going to talk a little bit more about George Best. But Barry at Doc United, who we know and love on this channel, hi Barry, said, I saw him play for the first time in 1967, met him in 1974, you lucky git, when he came to play in Johannesburg. Surely one of the highlights of my life. Insufficient superlatives to describe the utter genius of a man. Patrick Burns, the chairman of the Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation, says, saw Georgie in August 1970 till 74. His decline was painful, looked like he just gave up due to the decline of the 68 team. On the 6th of February 71, poignant. Best lobbed Jennings, Stretty from inside the box, sublime. He was a god. Enjoy, Roy, mate, which will get us on to our first guest in a minute. And Des has been in touch as well. He says, saw his first game, saw his last, saw him for the B team, A team, youth team, and reserved. Love him to bits. One of several reasons why I detest Doc, but the main one was the lies that he told about him. And I just want to get to one more story as well, because I think this is really fitting, from Kel, who tweeted us saying, saw Georgie lots. The memory of the goal in 71 v Sheffield United sticks with me. Turned just beyond the halfway line and drifted beyond player after player. You knew what was going to happen, but still could not believe what you had just seen. There was expectation every time he got the ball. And guess who responded to that tweet, Joe?
Who?
Well, it's the man who we've got on the show with us today. I'm so happy that Roy's agreed to come on, because Roy has joined us for some of our special podcasts where we've spoken about Jimmy Murphy. We spoke about Duncan Edwards with Roy as well. And we've also recently spoken about the great Harry Gregg. And Roy is he's an author, he's a historian, but most importantly, he's a great man who is so down to earth when he tells these stories. And I thought it would be perfect to come on a Friday night for us to all hang out with Roy. That's all we're doing tonight. We're hanging out with Roy. We're going to be picking his footballing brain. So Roy, I think this is the first place I like to start. Roy Kavanagh, MBE, of course. Roy, as I said earlier on, I've been so lucky to hear so many footballing stories from you. You've also got some fantastic books out on some incredible footballers in our history. But if I could ask you about George Best, this week was his 15th anniversary of his passing. I've read out some memories of our viewers there. Do you have a bestie memory that sticks out to you?
Well, I do. I have quite a lot, actually, because I was really honoured and pleasured to know George when he was only 16, and I was 15.
Wow.
And behind the cricket ground at near United, there was a 10-pin bowling alley opened in 1962. And young George had just come back over from Ireland, and he would go there every Tuesday and Thursday night. And I used to wander down with my mates, and we got talking to him. He was just an ordinary guy, sipping Coke and quite shy. And of course, lots of girls used to turn up. So you'd think, well, we're okay here for someone wanting to walk back home to Salford with us. But I saw George quite a lot, and in later life, I got to know him. I hosted him at many a sports dinner. And I saw his debut against West Brom when he came. He wasn't even on the programme for that game. Ian Moyer was on the programme at number 7, but George got put in the team. And he was being marked by a really hard left-back called Graham Williams, Welsh international, who turned round to him after the game and said, I was really glad that was over, because you've just run me ragged. And then George was kept out for a couple of months. He came back around Christmas against Burnley, and they won 5-1, and he was never out of the team again. He was a magnificent footballer. 2 years or so later, 1966, March 66, when they went over to Benfica, and they won that game 5-1, one of United's greatest ever games. And in my opinion, on that display, on that night, when he was only 19, George proved himself. 1920, he proved himself on that night. He was the best player in Europe. And 2 years after that, they played Benfica again in the European Cup. And George was only 21, 22 at the most. And he was really at the height of his career then. And it was such a tragedy, really, that from 1968, when we won the World Cup in May, to 1974, when he played his last game for United, that United, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, let him down, because he was at his peak, and a lot of the team that won the European Cup had reached their peak and were probably slightly going the other way. And as I say, I met George a few times, and I actually interviewed him for a book once. And if you just like to listen to this is a book about United in the 60s. And he gave me some really serious but passionate quotes. And these are his words. And he said, "It's always difficult to replace faithful and good players who've served the club well. But I thought United needed to be ruthless, and they weren't. The players who needed replacing were allowed to play on, and the team slowly began to slide." And he summed it up and said that his first 5 years as a United player were unbelievable, and the rest should have been. And he's absolutely right on that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, his career at United, he had a great 3 or 4 months with Old Farrell. And then it just went downhill, didn't it, his career? But I don't know if you want to bring anything else into it before I tell you a couple of stories, if you want, of when I actually hosted him, some cracking stories of when in later life, when we were both, in our late 40s and 50s. So that's up to you.
Definitely, we'll pick your brains on that 100%. I want to hear those. I want to hear that, and I know someone else will want to hear that. My mate Gaz is in. Gaz Drinkwater's with us. You'll know him, of course, if you've been watching fan channels for ages. This guy's a bit of Gaz. You're probably a bit of a fan channel icon, actually.
Mate, don't. I was gonna say, don't bring me in at this point. Let's listen to an actual NBA tell these incredible stories about George Best. Insightful, knowledgeable, passionate, and an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. One day you might get an honour for your commitment to fans. Who knows? If you continue this for another 30 years, you might get it. Who knows? But look, Gaz, I do want to come over to you. Before we come back to Rob, I do want to come over to you with something quickly, because as I mentioned at the start of the show, we can't ignore the fact that we also lost Diego Maradona this week, a footballing icon. I think when everyone heard the news, we were all in a bit of shock. So when did you first hear of his passing, and what was your immediate reaction? Because I think all of us were just a bit taken aback, and I think ever since we've all got to learn and grow and watch some fantastic videos online of how sensational he was in his heyday.
Oh, absolutely. I was brought up on the knowledge, two football facts, really. One, that George Best was the greatest player of all time, and the other was that Diego Maradona scored the greatest goal of all time, which was the second against England. And that's just what I grew up having literally drummed into me by every member of my family, essentially. So I knew like how important these like legends were, and I already knew on the day. Obviously, it was the anniversary of George Best and stuff. So it's so strange that we lost Diego Maradona on the same day, two of the greatest footballers ever. Like, I think when people talk about like who is the greatest ever, and say Ronaldo, Messi, and maybe Maradona and Pele have to be in with it, I think George Best has to be in that group as well. And you would say they are like the 5 most elite players that we've probably seen. I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me, but anyway, first found out the news. I was just at my girlfriend's and literally just opened my phone on Twitter. First thing, Maradona's trending. And as soon as you see someone trending on Twitter, you sort of know something's going on. And it was like...
It's the David Attenborough effect now, isn't it? I think whenever we see David Attenborough trending, we're all just a little bit like, oh, no, he hasn't, has he?
Yeah, exactly. And with Maradona, it's like you knew he wasn't obviously in the best of health as he never was. But I tell you what, if someone offered me 60 years of his life.
Yeah.
Taking it.
It's so funny, actually. Yeah, it's so funny, actually. I had the same experience with growing up, as like I knew George Best to be the greatest player of all time, and I knew Diego Maradona scored against England. Not even that he was scored an amazing goal. He just scored against England, and we just all cheered that.
The other one.
I love the hand of God. That is my life. My favorite thing I've heard this week is Diego Maradona going back up to heaven. It's a cartoon, and him going, "Sorry, here's your hand back to God." That's my favorite cartoon from the week.
I mean, you're right. George Best does have to be in that conversation for one of the greatest players of all time. So who best to ask and try to sum him up as a footballer now than Roy quickly? Roy, let me come over to you, and feel free to jump into a couple of those stories if you want, because I don't want to just know a little bit more about George Best, a player, maybe something that we couldn't suck in as not being there in the stadium or not being able to watch him game after game, but also a bit about the man, because obviously he loved to drink, he loved his ladies, he lived a different life. Well, did he live a different life off the pitch than on the pitch? We hear the stories of him actually shaking hands, with him turning up to games, obviously not in the best of conditions. So it'd be good and interesting to hear from you, Roy, on what you made of the legacy that George Best has left behind, and how much of a great man he was as well, meeting him personally.
The last time I was with him, we was doing a dinner in Southport, big hotel called the Prince of Wales. So I got there about 20 to 8 because I was hosting it. And it was for, believe it or not, Friday night. And it's for the Liverpool Plant Contractors Association night out. And there's 180 scouters. And the guest speakers are George Best and Rodney Marsh, because he used to hang around with Rodney. So I get there about 20 to 8, looking around the room, testing the mics, all that sort of good. I got a phone call about quarter to 8. And this lady said, "Hi, Roy." She said, "How did George get there tonight?" I said, "Where is it?" She said, "We're in the Midland." I said, "I only know one Midland, and that's in the middle of Manchester." She said, "Yeah, that's where we are." So she's quarter to 8. The dinner's starting at 8 o'clock. There's 180 scousers there. I said, "Well, I suggest that you jump in a taxi, the 3 of you, as quick as possible." So they jumped in a taxi. I have to pacify all these scousers for a good hour, because they just, in fairness, they wanted to speak to him, talk to him, and all that sort of thing, get his organ. They arrived about 9:10, and George went in, champagne, and they told the agent had told the Liverpool Plant Contractors Association they'll do 40 minutes talk and they'll do 40 minutes question and answer. So they come and sat next to me, and Rodney Marsh has got a perforated eardrum. So he had to sit on this side of George, and I'm like making hand signs to him so he could hear when I was. And they did 20 minutes, did 20 minutes question and answer. And George said, "I've had enough, Roy, I'm going." And they left. And the Liverpool Plant Contractors Association were not happy chappies, I can tell you. But
oh my God.
But honestly, as a guy, every time except that one, I met him, he was just like one of your best mates. He wasn't, "I'm George Best." He wasn't anything. He would just sidle up, have a chat, be okay, go with the swing of things. And he was fantastic company. And you've just mentioned some of the great players. And it's always difficult to say, well, Ronaldo, Messi, Maradona, Pele, all of them, Cruyff, we forget about, Bobby Charlton, all these, Dennis. But in my opinion, of players I saw, and I go back to 1954, seeing the Babes. But the problem with the big stars in the Babes, they didn't play much more than 3 or 4 years, a lot of them. Duncan, for example, was in the first team 4 or 5 years. George played 10 years at United. And as he said, the first 5 were unbelievable. But in my opinion, he is the greatest footballer I have ever seen.
Wow. That is some compliment. That is some compliment, Roy, because we've spoken about some of the great players that you've seen play, and that to put George Best as that player, for me, like I think you need to, if you don't know what Roy has done in his career and you don't know the football that Roy has covered, for Roy to say that, there's quite a lot of meaning behind it, I think, and a lot has to be taken from it. I just want to go to some of the comments quickly. Kay Slater's jumped on. Good evening. Welcome to the Late Night Lock-In, Kay. Good evening, everyone. Fantastic that George Best is remembered in this way, even 15 on. Legend and a real legend, not a pretender to the throne. Yeah. And Gaynor, thank you for joining us, Gaynor, says, "I was lucky enough to watch Maradona play live at Old Trafford in 1984 in what is still the best game and atmosphere I've seen there."
Because we won that game.
I mean, I can make a little brag here. Might be confusing, and there is a caveat to it.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
I have seen Diego Maradona play football live.
Is this a charity? I presume it's a charity game.
2006 Soccer Aid.
I was thinking. Hey, it's more than we've seen. It's more than we've seen.
Ben Shepherd marked him out the game.
Yeah, brilliant. Ben Shepherd would never let that rest. Let me tell you. Roy, did you ever watch Maradona play?
Yeah, well, I was at the Barcelona game in '84. In fact, that was the time I was writing in the program. So in the actual program, I'd got a full-page article about all football programs in that game. But Robson, Maradona wasn't in his greatest of moods and whatever that night. I mean, I've seen a goal of his today against. A near miss against England when he was about 20, and I know it's fantastic. But I like when Gaz said there, I'd just like to have had his 60 years. You wouldn't have remembered 30 of them, Gaz. Perhaps 40.
Well, look, this day, sorry, Ollie, that day is going to go down in football history because we lost 2 footballing icons on that day, and I think we've just remembered them in the best way that we can do. Roy, thank you for those stories. I really, really appreciate it, and maybe if we can get a few more out of you before the end of the show, then we'll dig deeper and try and get a couple from you as well. Just anyone out there, if you're watching on a different platform, come over to YouTube, join in the live chat, youtube.com/allforunited. Hit that like button and subscribe whilst you're there. I think we should jump into the first talking point. I'm going to come over to you as well first, Joe, on this one. The government here in the UK or in England specifically have announced their new tiers, and as part of the new tiers, they're going to let fans back into stadiums. Now, we don't quite know what the specifics are yet of fans actually going into stadiums. I actually watched an interview with Eddie Hearn, nothing to do with football, just boxing, where he was questioning, well, what do we need to allow fans back in? Surely it's not just a free-for-all, come in 1,000 people with some social distancing. Like, do they all need testing? What is the actual, what's going on? So we don't really know the clear picture. But what we do know is, under these restrictions, I think it's only the London clubs and Brighton that are going to be allowed fans back in at this stage and no other clubs. So where are you at with the whole fans coming back into stadiums at the moment, Joe? Do you think it is a good thing, or do you think it just seems a little bit rushed now that we're still in the midst of this pandemic?
Yeah, well, we discussed before, and I work in a hospital, so like my ideas might be a little skewed, maybe to the left, you might say, but I think it's wrong. Especially if all clubs across the board can't do it. I think it shouldn't be done. But if it can be done, I don't think they should be doing every single club, everywhere, you know? I think you should be focusing on League 2, League 1 clubs, maybe championship teams. Well, League 2, League 1, who definitely need that income, who are suffering without having one coming in, who the 4,000 fans or whatever it was, they should be the focus of trying to get fans back in. Because the Premier League, top level championship clubs, they don't need fans, okay? And we all know, we all want to go back to football games. We all want to be there. We want to see Old Trafford, 76,000 people in there filling out. But we don't need that. And the 4,000 fans that get there, whether it be in Old Trafford or the Emirates, whatever, it won't make that any difference really to the players. I don't think it'll be that huge thing because they'll all be separated, all be spread out. I think, to be honest, might be the wrong opinion. I think
Joe, your internet's just gone. Joe, your internet's gone really funny, mate. Sorry, your internet's gone really. Oh, God, you've gone pink. God, that was quite something. What happened there? Some aliens came into your room and took over for a minute.
Wow.
What happened there? You might want to restart or shut some windows or something. I'll come back to you and come back to you anyway. Gaz, obviously I know both you and Roy go to many a match day, but for you, you know, obviously you were going week in, week out. For you at the moment, Gaz, are you happy to go back to a stadium as a fan? Would you, I mean, there needs to be a selection process, of course, when this does happen, but right now, do you think it's safe enough for fans to get back into stadiums? Would you be pushing it at this stage?
I mean, I'm not a medical professional, so I'm maybe not the person to ask on whether I think it's safe enough. I guess that all depends on the rate of infections. And to be honest, I've stopped keeping up with a lot of things, to be honest. And the way that I've sort of lived is I've still been going into work because I have to go into work. But I've just not been taking the mick, essentially. You wear a mask, keep your distance, you know, wash your hands. I feel like if everyone was capable of doing that, then we could let fans back in hypothetically, but I don't think people are, so we can't. As for like what Joe said then, I totally agree. I don't think there's any point bringing fans back in for Premier League games at all. I don't really think it gives other teams an advantage to have that few amount of fans in there, really. I think it's more effort than it's worth for the big clubs, like for Old Trafford to actually put things in place to allow 4,000 fans in, who they'd have to socially distance in some way. They'd have to put some infrastructure in place. It's just not worth it. Let's wait until we can get at least 50%. But then I suppose when it gets to that point, you'd think that we will have a vaccine and, hopefully more people will be immune to it. And that's just sort of what I'm hoping for, just for more advances in science, just to get us past the line, because I don't think at the minute we can just start letting people back into football games if it's going to spike massively. I don't want football fans to get blamed for that.
Mm-hmm. It feels like a big jump, doesn't it? Really, really quickly. Like, yeah, come on, let's just chuck a couple of thousand people in a stadium. Roy, what about you? You've been to Old Trafford through the years. I mean, for you, is going to a match even on your mind at the moment? Would you feel comfortable as a fan going straight back to a stadium tomorrow?
Not in one of the Premier games. I think Joe was absolutely right there. I mean, in all honesty, the Premier League don't need crowds of 2,000 and 4,000. And just a point there, Ben, Liverpool and Everton will be allowed to have fans from next week. But I don't think 2,000 or 4,000 in the Premier League. I agree that the third, what I still call the third and fourth division, so the lower leagues and the non-leagues. But I mean, the real problem is I don't get how, because I love going out for restaurants. Really, I really enjoy going out for a meal. I can't understand how you can have 4,000 in a football ground, but you can't have 100 spatially, spaced properly in a restaurant. You can't go and have a drink and have a meal. It just defies logic. And unless I really don't think you're going to get crowds in the Premier League, proper crowds, till August 21. I don't see it at all this season.
Mhm.
That's just being realistic, because you're into December next week, and you can't see it happening in what you would call the winter up till March. And I'd be really surprised if you got anything like 50% in this season at all.
Yeah, I think reflecting on your comment there, Roy. So it's Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Everton, Fulham, Palace, West Ham, and I'm sure Brighton can as well. I'm sure Brighton can.
4,000's a full house for Fulham.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think this is less embarrassing for City right now, actually, physically having an empty stadium.
There it is.
I have at least one good gag every show.
You do. It's kind of scary, Ben. I won't lie. It's kind of my thing.
I try my best. I really do try my best. But yeah, I mean, look, Gaz was saying there, Roy. Just reflecting on this quickly, then it's not really going to be an advantage, is it? 2,000 fans in the stadium isn't going to be an advantage. But then again, is it fair to have 2,000 home fans in a stadium for a football match?
Well, I don't think it's fair, and I think it's against the rules, really. I mean, it's got to be a fair playing field. I mean, if you're all in the same league and all in the same division, you should all have the same chance. And even 2,000-3,000, I don't think it is. I think in the lower leagues, they need the money as well. But I think I seriously think a lot of people will, I may be wrong, will be very wary about going back. Certainly in the next 2 or 3 months. I really do.
Yeah, good points, well made. Yeah, I agree with you, Roy. I think it's a tough one. And also, I think if they're going to have a fair selection process, surely, well, I say fair selection process, how do they make it fair? One. Yeah. So then if they say that the fair process is to obviously allow people like yourself, who has been a match goer for a number of years, you're then potentially putting more at-risk people in a stadium within a mass gathering, even with social distances. So it's like, well, wait a second, what are the requirements for this? I think that needs to be outlined, doesn't it, Gaz, for one? But also for yourself, though, Gaz, as a fan, we do want to get back to stadiums quickly, don't we? So what's it like at the moment for you not being at the games and having to watch on telly?
I mean, watching it on telly is grim, especially with the crowd noise. I can't handle that crowd noise. I don't know about you. Yeah. I genuinely rather the silence. I'd rather it just treat it for what it is, like a exceptional set of circumstances that we're in, and just rather than pretend that everything's normal. So watching it on telly is absolutely awful. But as for actually going to the games, I sort of when lockdown 1 happened and there were still non-league games going on, I just started going to them instead, just because I needed to watch some football. And then now there's absolutely nothing on. It's like a gaping hole in your life, and it's rubbish. It is rubbish sometimes on a weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the same build-up either, is it? When you know that you're going to watch the game, and it's actually a part of your day than actually having it at home. I find that really annoying. But especially for me, when I travel, when I do try to get to games, like it's the whole traveling. It's that whole day traveling. It's making the experience out of it because I'm damn bloody sad, which is quite frustrating. Meanwhile, Joe jumps on an airplane over from Ireland to get over there.
Jump really far.
Yeah, jump. Yeah, well, that is some jump you've got on you. Have you got any final points you want to make, Joe, on this?
Yeah, I just think until it's 11 play, I feel like the lads were saying, especially Roy, that if every club can't have it, no club should have it. I think exceptions should be made for League 2 and League 1 because they've been shafted so many times. But for Premier League, we're grand. No matter how much the Glazers say we don't have money, we're fine for a while.
There had to be a Glazer dig somewhere, didn't there?
Yeah, somewhere. We're sticking in one episode.
Do you want to grab the stopwatch, Joe? We're going to put 60 seconds on there, and we're going to jump into the My First United feature. This is basically our opportunity to find out a little bit about those moments that Gaz and Roy have had, those first experiences around Manchester United that come to mind. Nothing planned this. This is actually me asking the guys straight up a couple of questions on their first, whether it's kit, player transfer, etc. So when you've got that stopwatch ready, Joe, and you say go, I'm going to start asking the guys questions, and we go one by one to get their answers.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Right. Going to come to you first, Gaz. What about your first player that you idolised at United?
David Beckham. I had 3 of his haircuts.
Love that. I had the mohawk as well. Roy, what about you? First player you idolised?
Ray Wood, the Busby Babes goalkeeper.
Oh, love that. Gaz, can you remember your first big signing, the first big United signing that there was hysteria about?
Oh, the only one I can really remember is Varane.
Oh, that's a good one. Roy, what about you? Big hysteria around a big signing.
Harry Gregg.
Harry Gregg. Yeah, and we spoke about Harry Gregg, of course.
He took over from my idol, Ray Wood.
Gaz, the first word that comes to mind when I say Liverpool.
Shit. Oh, I don't know if I can swear. I don't know if I can swear.
Roy?
Mersey Tunnel.
There we go. Gaz, what about the first game you saw live?
I think it was United Leverkusen in the Champions League. I think we drew on the night, and if I remember correct, was it a semi-final?
Yeah.
Was it? Bloody hell!
Yeah.
I think we drew on the night, and I remember being buzzing about it, not being gutted, and my dad was absolutely devastated. And I didn't understand it. Meant we went out on away goals.
That was it. You learned the away goal rules, and you hated it ever since. Roy, what about your first game?
Aston Villa, Boxing Day, 1954. Can't remember much. I was only 7, and they got beat 1-0.
And we're on a stopwatch.
Wow. Do you want to ask? Do you want to ask Roy? Do you want to see if you can dig into some memories there, Joe?
I have a question for both Gaz and Roy. First one for Roy is your favorite player. Your favorite player was what goalkeeper? It was Harry Gregg. Was that
Ray Wood? Well, Ray Wood
sorry.
was my goalkeeper. It was my favorite player.
Yeah, but the first sign you can think of was Harry Gregg, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And what was your memories of Harry Gregg when he first signed? Like, what was your thoughts before he even got into the goals? Can you remember?
Yeah, I'd actually seen him play for Northern Ireland against England about a month before, and he was head and shoulders man of the match because Northern Ireland, with respect, weren't expected to beat England at Wembley. And Taylor played, Edwards played, Byrne played, but Ireland won 3-2, and Gregg was absolutely outstanding. He was a different goalkeeper to Wood. Ray Wood was a line goalkeeper and a shot stopper, very good.
Yeah.
But Harry Gregg just came from anything. It's a good job they had that line on the half circle on the 18-yard line. Else he would have just kept going. You know, I mentioned last week, if a corner came over, he just came for it all the way. Didn't matter who he trampled or whatever. A great man, an absolutely great man. I'll tell you the reason Wood was my idol was that in the 50s, colour wasn't around. Seriously, everything was grey and dull, and football shirts really caught your eye. They really did. Of course, the goalkeeper wore a different colour. He wore a green, so that's why I thought, hey, he's something different. Don't forget, I'm only 7 or 8, and it's that's why Ray Wood became my idol.
Roy, really? Can I put you on the spot a minute and ask you who was the better goalkeeper, Harry Gregg or Alex Stepney?
Well, Harry Gregg, but Alex is a great friend. I know Alex really well, but Harry Gregg was an absolutely world-class goalkeeper. He was the best goalkeeper in the World Cup of 1958.
Yeah,
and he just suffered with injuries. He just kept getting injuries to his shoulder, particularly at bad times. But he didn't, he just didn't give a damn. He was the man, and he was absolutely charismatic. And obviously, as we mentioned the other week on the great show Ben put out, he was so charismatic, and he was such a legend. You've got to think of another word. I mean, people are called legends now who played 2 years for United. Walked back into it or ran back into a plane that's burning. And I mean, come on. I mean, he's got, and his heroics on the pitch and his leadership. And he's a cracking story with Bestie, of course, because they used to train round the back, and Harry liked playing out, and George nutmegged him a couple of times, and he chased him round the ground, and he was shouting at, if I get hold of you, so and so, you're going to catch it, because George just nutmegged him a couple of times.
And we also learned as well, of course, on that show that and if it isn't common knowledge out there, that Bestie also used to clean his boots, and Bestie used to there's loads of stories out there about Bestie and Harry. So there's loads to be there.
Very proud of Harry. Must have been very proud of George.
Yeah, definitely. And Gaz would appreciate this. I'm just going to be a really good presenter here and say, if you want to find out more about Harry Gregg and check out our show, which we aired the other week, then please head over to the All for United channel, and you can hear more stories like that from Roy. Honestly, honestly, I sat there in awe listening to the guys. And of course, we sadly lost Harry earlier this year, and his family gave us their blessing to do that show, and they've been supporting it like crazy. So please go and check out our specials with the Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation. They are just something else. The best shows I've ever been involved with, apart from this one tonight. Of course.
Thank you.
Sorry, Joe. I'll let you ask your questions to Gaz now.
Now, Gaz, you mentioned earlier that you had 3 David Beckham haircuts.
Yes. I knew this was the one that you were going to highlight. Out of everything, I knew this was going to be it.
Now, can I ask, were they at separate times or all at the same time?
I mean, I think at the minute I've got 3 all at the same time. I mean, to be fair, no, they were all separately. But I think one of them was the skinhead, and I don't know whether that counts. But it was literally just because I saw him, and then I realised, oh, you can get a skinhead without being a massive scally. So I was like, yeah, all right, okay, I'll get that done.
Yeah, 100%. I did the exact same. I don't know if I had 3, but I definitely had the mohawk and I had the skinhead.
I had the mohawk. I could never grow my hair enough to get the ponytail. I had the mohawk, but the biggest mistake was, do you remember when he had the bleach blonde bits in his hair? I thought I was so, he went for a stage where he had, I went for a stage where I was like, I could be like, because I idolised him, bit like you guys, I idolised him. So I bought all the Predator boots. My shirt number was number 7. I even bought, do you know the white England captain's armband with the England crest on it that he always used to wear? He had it in red as well when England were in white. I bought 2 of those that when I was playing football, I would wear the captain's armband when I was captaining the team. Beckham's captain armband. Like, I was that much of a Beckham fan. Yeah. And when he had the blonde tips, the only thing I didn't do is get the sarong, because my biggest mistake was getting the blonde tips in my hair. That I thought, I'm not doing the sarong. So I'm with you guys. I did do the haircuts as well.
I absolutely loved them, and I loved them so much that even when he scored that free kick against Greece to qualify you guys for the World Cup, I clapped. Do you know?
You've got it.
Yeah. It's a moment of magic. Yeah, it was. I won't lie. I was over the moon because at that time he was England captain. He played for United. He was getting so much stick. It was at Old Trafford. It was the last minute. Like, he couldn't help but, like, he is, I think, probably the most underrated. Best footballer ever, just because he's good looking he's got all that stuff going inside.
It's so weird with David Beckham. It's almost to a point that he became like so overrated that he's now underrated. Like, he was a runner-up for the Ballon d'Or and deservedly so. People like who were never around to see him can't grasp the concept of getting a free kick and it being like a penalty. It's the weirdest feeling in the world.
Someone tweeted today. It was a picture of Bex going over to take a corner. It wasn't for that game at the Champions League final, but just saying, could you imagine the pressure of giving 2 pinpoint accurate corners in a Champions League final that led to goals and no one talking about it? Could you imagine, like, the pressure he was under to make sure, like, how many times have we seen important corners or important free kicks taken that hit the first man on the wall or get headed out immediately and nothing comes from it? How many direct goals from free kicks and from corners do we even see more at all? And then you had David Beckham, who in about 120 seconds or whatever it is, gave the 2 most important assists just before assists of all time in Man United history, and no one talks about it. And, like, that's how good he was and how good he is. Roy, where does he stand for you? Sorry.
Well, just one point on that. You're absolutely right. 2 unbelievable corners. But if you think about it, we're suffering now because for the next 21 years, I don't think we've taken any good corners at United.
You took the words out of my mouth, Roy.
No, he's just no, I agree. A great player, a great team player. Should remember that. I mean, and that 4 across, Beckham, Scholes, Keane, and Giggs. I mean, you could never think you're going to lose a match, could you? Really?
No.
When you've got those, and then you got all those great players behind and in front of them. A very good player. I mean, don't forget he played for the likes of AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, captain England. All them caps he got from England. You don't get all that by just being, a good-looking lad, do you? I mean,
but he was. he was like one of the, especially for our era, the superstar of our generation, so to speak. He became at points, he became more of a celebrity than he did footballer to the press, not to us, but to the press. And I think that's when the press generation started coming through and sort of took that away from him a bit. But anyway, we are going to move on slightly, and I do want to talk about one talking point that's really relevant to United right now, and that's the amount of games coming up. I mean, again, Roy, I hate coming back and saying this, but obviously you've watched United for such a long time. Do you ever look and go, God, we've got too many games coming up? Or for you, is it as much as I can watch us play? Let's get it on, because of fixture congestion at the moment, I think we're going to be playing a game every 3.1 days between now and the end of January. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, in saying that, these guys are on a minimum of 100 grand a week. Some of them will be on 200 grand a week. Some of them will be on 300 grand a week. When they travel in a private United jet. When they stay at places, it's 5-star. When they go to Ubupa, the medical conditions are absolutely top notch, and the pitches they're playing on, and the footballs and everything. The games. I thought particularly the match in Turkey, where I'm not sure how many hours Turkey is on from us. Must be 2 or 3 hours on. It was probably midnight there. Well after midnight when it finished, and then you've got a 4 or 5 hour flight back. So to play that game at 12:30 on a Saturday dinner time was a bit ridiculous. But I'll just give you two devil advocate situation here. I did a book once on Billy Whelan, and in 1957, when the Busby Bays won their second league title, they played at Burnley on Good Friday. They played at home to Sunderland on the Saturday. They played at home to Burnley on the Monday. They played at home to Real Madrid in the European Cup semi-final on the Thursday. They played at Cardiff on the Saturday. And then they played West Brom at home on the Monday night. And the following Saturday, they were in the 1957 FA Cup. Travel was nothing like it was today. The pitches were nothing like it was today. And you can even go to Fergie era. That year we should have won the first title, 92. We suddenly played a game at Luton, I think, on the Saturday. We played a game against Forest at home on the Monday, a game at West Ham on the Wednesday night, and then we had to go to Liverpool on the Saturday or the Sunday. And we lost the league. But that's what you've got big squads for. And I don't really have too much sympathy for them, I have to say. I think you've got to get on with it, and I think it affects, it's the bounce of the ball, and I think it affects all the clubs at the same time. But I thought the one with the Turkey one was like bonkers. I mean, if we'd have been playing like when we played the Turkish side at home on Wednesday night, if you were playing tomorrow at 12:30, that would be more understandable. But there again, the Premier League and the clubs have sold their soul, because the BT and Sky and Amazon paid an enormous amount of money, and they weren't bothered about it then.
And they're not going to be bothered about it now, are they? Even in the middle of a pandemic. Money talks. Gaz, let me come over to you quickly. I mean, fixture congestion may be seen as a bad thing if you're a footballer and you're suffering with fatigue, and maybe you're a bit more sensitive, and you don't throw the money ball, so to speak, and how much they're being paid at them if they are sensitive souls. Who know if footballers are nowadays? But for us as a club, it's a good thing, because it means we're still running up in all competitions. We've got games to be able to try and recover some form. So how important is it when we have such a packed fixture list to you that we need to win games? We need to get on a consistent run of form, don't we?
Especially because I still think we have a very, very young team, and especially a team which maybe isn't. There's a lot of players in there who aren't experienced in a title challenge, really. So if that's the level that we want to be at, momentum is so important for the young players. So we need to keep winning, and if the games are coming thick and fast, you need to deal with it, I suppose. But I do feel like just on something that Roy said, I totally agree that footballers are earning ridiculous amounts of money. I don't necessarily have sympathy for the footballers themselves, but footballers, I think we can all agree on a general level, are total athletes now in a different way to what they once were. And I'm not taking away from the legends of the past at all here, but let's face it, footballers are on a totally different program now and live totally different lives. And I feel like when you're at that sort of physical level, it is almost easier to pick up injuries, bizarrely. And especially the way the game has changed as well, and how it's so much faster and things like that. And I feel like we all want to see, let's face it, in a perfect world, we want to see every single team in the league to get 0 injuries and to see the best team week in, week out for that team. And that's what we want to do. So we want to avoid as many injuries as possible. So I guess that's why the managers are calling it out more. And it's a good thing for everyone to have less injuries. It's not, not just us.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. But I just coming on to that, I do think it's a very good point. What does surprise me is that with the big squads they have, I don't see why they don't settle on their top 11, for argument's sake, and make 2 or 3 changes on a regular basis. There's nothing worse than putting 8 players in a team together, because it's just not going to work. And you think, there's your best side. Okay, take one of your centre backs out, put somebody in. Take one of your full backs out, put someone in. Take one of your wingers out, put someone in. To rotate the squad, but actually keeping the real strong base of the side. I think that could help, because Gaz is right. The speed now it's in a different world to what it was in the 80s, 70s, 60s, and definitely the 50s. I understand that.
With the current climate and the games coming up for all clubs, Joe, and maybe we'll get the thoughts, slightly watered down thoughts from the guys as well, see what they think. But do you think the 5 substitutes should come back, Joe? Do you think that should be introduced in the Premier League again?
Yeah. I think the only reason that people are against it is because tradition is 3 substitutions. But 5 substitutions mean that if you have an injury, if at any issue, anyone can come on, players get more play time. And with the fact that this whole year or 18 months or whatever, 2 years is going to be, the players need advantages to rest and to recover from playing a game. So I think 5 substitutions is the way to go forward and needs to be in, basically.
I think that the people that are against it are obviously against the bigger clubs who have naturally bigger squads, taking advantage of that. But I totally agree, though. I think that we should keep it in. I think for this season we should all, like I've said this loads of times, I think that we all just need to get our head out of the idea of making this season normal. It's not normal. It's weird. It's going to be weird for a while. But let's just grin and bear it. Maybe add some things in to make it as fair as possible on the players and the fans, and we'll be back to normal sooner rather than later.
And hey, if you're a football club and you want some strength in depth, we've got Phil Jones, Jesse Lingard, and a few others, I'm sure, who can make up your numbers. Roy, any final thoughts on that from what the guys have said? Would you be pro 5 substitutions or?
Yeah, I think it makes just sense, and I can't believe any Premier club can say we haven't got a big enough squad. I mean, not being disrespectful to Crewe Alexandra or something like that. I mean, for them to have 17 first-class players ready to play at any stage, I could understand that might not happen. But whether you're Burnley or Manchester United, you surely have got enough. What is it? 5 substitutes. That's 16 players, isn't it? And 2 of them are goalkeepers. I'm surprised that they've not gone for that, because someone who can feel a slight injury, you could then take them off. So I that makes common sense, to be honest.
No, good points all made, and I think it's that time. It's 10:02, so we've got about 10 minutes of the show left. So guys, get in the live chat. Gaz and Roy, we are going to trust that neither of you have the live chat open in case anyone wants to get involved with the quiz. So if there's a chance that you can make sure that you have it. I don't think you have. I think if you're just looking at my lovely face, then you're going to be fine.
That's all I'm seeing.
Then lucky you. Let's do the ultimate Manchester United fan quiz with your host Joe O'Neill. I feel like maybe we should have a theme tune or something. Maybe that's something we can start up for next week. But as I said, this was great fun last week. Joe, do you want to explain what's going to happen? And of course, if you're watching this right now, stick a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and get in the live chat because you can play along too. Let's see how many you can get right alongside the guys.
Cool. So basically how it works is each of you will get 3 questions. It's either 1 point for getting it right, no points for getting it wrong. If it's even at the end, I have a tiebreaker question. I had in my mind that I was going to set up the quiz to mess with Gaz, but I actually genuinely want to put Roy to the test as well as Gaz. So this is all going to be legit down the middle.
I feel like there's no way that I've not been set up here. Roy has literally written books about Manchester United. I am a professional gobshite.
But you do it very well. So the questions.
Don't forget, Gaz, but historians have other books to check and write about tonight.
Yeah.
We've not anything. I've got a load here actually. I could just.
This is all from the Wikipedia.
Gaz, have you never heard of copy and paste? It's really easy.
So, Roy, you are going to have questions spanning three decades. Gaz, you're going to have questions spanning 3 decades. Gaz, your questions are spanning from the 90s to the 2010s. Roy, yours is from, we could say the 30s, but definitely 40s, 50s, 60s. Okay. So here we go. Roy, I'm going to send you first since you are an MBE. And we're going to start with the earliest question, which is legendary Irish right back Johnny Carey, who you kind of wrote a book about, was signed from which Dublin club?
St. James Gate.
That's 1 point for Roy.
He's written a book about him.
He's written a book about him. That's an easy first question.
No, I figured that one. I thought they'd talk more about the rest of his life.
Luckily, I co-wrote a biography for Norman Whiteside. Like,
oh, good man, Norman.
Gaz,
go on.
This is for the 2010s. Who did Anthony Martial? For what club did Anthony Martial make his professional debut for?
That's bad. I don't know that. Am I imagining that?
Is it the same club that we signed him from?
I don't think it's the same club we signed him from. I don't think it's Monaco.
Ben, don't help.
I think Gaz is going to need all the help he can get.
Actually, you know what?
No, I know we signed him from Monaco, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think in my head. Did I see him playing for Toulouse or something? No, I'm just going to, because if it is Monaco, I'll kick myself. So I'll just say Monaco.
Prepare to kick yourself because the answer is Lyon.
Oh, right. Lyon? Did he?
Played for Lyon. He was in the U team at Lyon and Monaco bought him. He played like 4 games.
Case Slater says, hey Gaz, time for you to write a book.
Wait, he played youth team games for Lyon?
No. He played a professional game for Lyon. He played 4 games at least.
Okay, fair enough.
Second question to move up to the 50s. Roy, now this one could be toughy. Roy, the following season after the Munich air crash, the 1958-1959 season, what position did Manchester United finish in the English First Division?
Runners up.
That's 2 points for Roy.
3-0.
These questions are so easy.
They're not easy. They're not. I figured that wouldn't be difficult. Okay, Gaz. Okay. Gaz, during the 2007...
Gaz might have said Monaco as well.
Thanks, Roy. Cheers, mate. I wouldn't have said second.
Gaz, during the 2007-2008 season, who was Man United's second highest goal scorer?
Okay. I am going to go with... I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to get it wrong. Is it either Tevez or Rooney? Okay.
I can't believe you haven't got multiple choice. There's a plethora of players.
I'm gonna go Rooney.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
The answer's Tevez. Okay. Well, Roy, do you know what, Roy? If you get this last question wrong, okay, then Gaz's last question is for 2 points.
Yes.
Okay. So then we can go to the tiebreaker if it goes to it. Where is the question? Oh, yeah. Okay, you might get this one very easy. How many FA Cup finals did Manchester United play throughout the 1960s?
FA Cup finals.
Yeah, how many FA Cup finals did Man United play in throughout the 1960s?
So I'm thinking of throwing it.
Oh,
The
Gaz
answer's
just, had a,
one.
Gaz just had a look in his eye that said, I know the answer to this one, Roy. No.
I definitely did not.
One.
Wow.
Yeah, Roy, that's the right
Is it?
answer.
I didn't know it was only one. Wow.
And Gaz, to see us out, can get 1 point on the board. During the 1990s, how many European trophies did Manchester United win?
2.
Are you sure?
Is it not 2? Okay, well, it's obviously not. I'll say 3. Sure.
Are you sure?
In the 1990s.
Yeah, but did we not also win the Cup Winners' Cup?
So you're going to stick with 3 or 2?
Did we not win the Cup Winners' Cup?
I'm asking, Gaz, can I get a final answer? Is it?
I'm going to go 2. I'm going 2.
Okay. The answer was 3.
Ah,
We won the Cup Winners' Cup, the European Super Cup, and the Champions League, of course.
Oh, did we? Oh, the Super Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
But was the Super Cup not in the year 2000?
No, we won it in 91 against Red Star.
Oh, so it's the turn of the year. Right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
That's
I was
it.
thinking of the one after.
No, Gaz,
99.
thanks for taking part.
Gaz, you were right at the start. It doesn't matter which way you're looking at this. You were going to get set up either way.
Yeah, there was no way.
Well, Roy won. Yeah, you can add that to your list of
Did he?
achievements. You can put that beside the MBE. You know,
What? Roy Kavanagh, MBE, won a quiz.
won a quiz, an all for United quiz, not just any quiz.
Not just any quiz. Guys, that was brilliant. And I think that brings a lovely end to today's show. Thank you, Gaz, for jumping on. Thank you, Roy, for jumping on. Joe, thank you as ever for being great. This is the Late Night Lock-In. Join us again Monday. We're going to be live again from 10 o'clock. And do you know what I always do, Joe? I always forget to plan something. And I forgot to get ready to guess who we've got for Monday. In front of me, which is really annoying. We've got Adam Matic and we've got Natalie, who does the Manchester United women's stuff with the Barmy Army women's FC as well. So looking forward to that one. Join us then. Subscribe to the channel. As I said, if you want to go back and watch some amazing stuff on Roy, check out our specials. So go over there. Ciao for now, guys. Have a good weekend. And come on, United. Let's get that win against Southampton, shall we? Let's make sure we have a good weekend this weekend. 3 points on the board. Let's do it.
Hey, guys.
Night,
See you later,
guys.
guys.
Bye.